Hello, this is Marian Stahl, and this is my Capstone Systems Change project for CSPU 618. My capstone project was conducted in Desert Sands Unified School District. This is a snapshot of the district according to their local control accountability plan. The district is located in the Coachella Valley. It operates on a budget annually of $316 million, and in the fall of 2016 their enrollment was 26,708, 73% Hispanic, 20% white, 2% African American, 2% Asian, and 3% were other. Spanish is the primary home language of 96% of the district's nearly 6,700 English learners. So the district has 18 elementary schools, and there's one counselor at each of those elementary schools. That just happened really only maybe 1 or 2 years ago. It's pretty recent that they've actually placed one counselor at each of those schools. And then it has 6 middle schools, 14 middle school counselors. So some of the middle schools have one school counselor and then others have two. There is one school that has actually three, so it just varies. And then there are 4 high schools. Again, same thing, you got 21 high school counselors, so it varies depending on the site how many there are. Most of the high schools have about 4 counselors. And then there are 2 alternative high schools in the district and one alternative middle school. And to my knowledge, none of the counseling programs within the Desert Sands Unified School District use the American National Association model, and they do not have comprehensive school counseling programs in place. So Desert Sands Unified School District has additional support provided by the Student Assistance Program. They provide social and emotional support to students and their families at no cost, and they are funded by district, local, state, and federal monies and grants. They have 10 counselors. They also have drug and alcohol certified counselors, marriage and family therapists. They hire interns, the MFT and LPC trainee interns. And there's also a student advocate who works only with foster and homeless students. Recently, the Student Assistance Program received a multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS grant, of about $2 million to implement group counseling and individual counseling. It's a 3-tier program. Tier 1 being the school-wide PBIS support, Tier 2 group counseling, Tier 3 is the individual and family counseling. So students are receiving more intense social emotional support through this program. So I was hired under that MTSS grant to provide services for Tier 2 services. So I'm doing group counseling at several schools. I go to 5 schools, but John Glenn Middle School is one of the schools that I go to. So I chose to do my capstone project and my needs assessment at John Glenn. And so currently they have 1,400 students there and 2 site counselors. So their student to counselor ratio is 700, which is like I mentioned earlier, definitely too high because the American School Counselor Association recommends 250. So, based on also observations and the interviews with the counselors, getting their feedback, they're saying that their biggest need is in the social emotional domain for students because they actually don't do these counselors don't really do any kind of group counseling. The site counselors don't. They do some things that are considered inappropriate based on American School Counselor Association recommendations. For example, they do yard duty. They engage in a lot of discipline, but they at the same time felt that their biggest need was then to do the social emotional services like group counselings, and some of their biggest needs were conflict resolution and stress and anxiety. According to the local control funding formula, the LCFF, John Glenn is performing well academically. Their ELA and math scores outperform the district. Their dropout rate is 0%, and in comparison to the state, they perform above average. I conducted a needs assessment for John Glenn Middle School using parents, students, teachers, and stakeholders of that school and received about 60 responses. In addition to distributing the survey for people to take, I did some interviews. And so the interviews were with the two site counselors, the principal, and the Tier 3 MFT to talk to them about what they felt the needs were of the students and um, what their recommendations would be. So 53% of the responses were teachers and 40% parents, 3% administrator, and 5% would be students and stakeholders. The needs assessment survey asked for the overall impression of the school counseling department to evaluate how they are currently doing, and 61% responded good. I got 30% average and 5% excellent, and then only about 1.6% said poor. Question 3 continues to evaluate the current school counseling program by asking if they're aware of the school counselor's role. 43% agreed. And would their students be comfortable talking to the school counselor? With 56% agreeing there. And then if they had a concern or problem, would they feel comfortable going to the school counselor? And that was 60% agreed. So question 4 asks the survey takers to choose 4 topics that they feel are most important for social emotional development of the students. And the highest percentages were to dealing with anxiety and stress, bullying, including cyberbullying, healthy relationships, and technology addiction. Question 5 was to determine the 2 most important topics for academic development, which was study skills and time management. And then question 6 is regarding college and career readiness. The highest responses go to knowledge and exposure of career options and the importance of college and vocational training. The first recommendation that I would make for John Glenn Middle School would be to reduce their student to counselor ratio by hiring 1 full-time counselor. Right now their ratio is 700 to 1, and that would help to reduce it to 466 to 1. Still not what the American School Counselor Association recommends, which is 250 to 1, but it would be much better at 466. Next recommendation for John Glenn Middle School is to implement a bully prevention program using the Olveus bully prevention materials that have already been purchased by the district, making this a low budget program to implement. Has all the information needed to start a coordinating committee and provide education to students on campus. Also being recommended is going to be a bully prevention workshop for parents. Next, in order to meet some of the needs that were indicated on the needs assessment, would be to provide some group counseling in the areas of anxiety, stress, healthy relationships, conflict resolution. The benefit of this is that this could be implemented by the school counselors that are currently there, and there would be no cost. In order to deal with the technology addiction, a screening of the movie called Screenagers can be a very effective way of promoting some dialogue, getting families to start talking about setting some limits and what's healthy, what's not. So recommendations being made that the school host a screening of the movie Screenagers. So the 2 things that were identified as highest need for the academic development area are time management and study skills. These are things that can be easily included during classroom instruction by teachers at no cost to the school or by the site counselors in guidance lessons. For career and college development in that domain, the needs assessment, the most identified needs were knowledge and exposure to potential career options and the importance of college and vocational education. So those are things at the middle school level. It would be really good to have a college fair and invite speakers from different careers, different people in the community, some representatives from the college to come on campus and provide information to the students and perhaps do that throughout the day, or it could be also arranged where you have them going to the classrooms. The presenters would go to different classrooms and present in the classroom. So that would need to be coordinated by the counselors, but that should meet the needs of, increasing these in these two areas, knowledge and exposure. And so that's for career and college readiness. The budget will include a full-time counselor, so that's about 73,000, including benefits. The starting salary at Desert Sands for a counselor is about 58,000, and then there's benefits, and so about $73,000. That will need to be something that the principal will make room for in his budget, and he will need to shift some things and look at the different programs because he feels it is a need. He would definitely have to look at that in his budget, maybe perhaps some LCAP money as well. For the bully prevention program, about $900 would include providing money for guest speakers, maintenance fees, childcare, refreshments, technology addiction workshop, about $800 to do a viewing of the screenagers, and a college and career day for about $500. So the budget was $75,200. That concludes my presentation for the Capstone Systems Change project for John Glenn Middle School. Thank you for watching.